We do retreat for the sake of them, happiness of them. If we really care about them, we want to do retreat. When I was a single mom, and I never thought it's hard to be away from him. I mean, how much I loved him, but I always have an intention. I'm doing this retreat for him, happiness of him, and as well as all beings. So this is a really opportunities, and I became very enthusiastic about doing retreat again and again.
Hello, Khandro-la.
Hi, Joseph.
It's great to come on a call with you again. It's
Yes.
really nice that you're willing to come on this call and help me with some questions that I wanted to answer.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to another interview. I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, we have a couple of things coming up for Dakini's Whisper, and it's a good time to have this because with the things that are upcoming, it's just really exciting to talk about what we're getting into and maybe get some insights on how to prepare for them.
All right.
The upcoming is the Personal Householder Retreat. And from what I understand, retreats are generally not hosted in each of our households. This is a rather new version of having a retreat. Is that correct?
New version or Western version?
Yeah.
I don't know. There are many ways to talk about retreat. Also, there are many kind of retreat. Especially when I moved to the West, I found out retreat is not defined strictly by or according to the Tibetan traditions. But also, I think it's worthwhile to explore that, what retreat entails, what retreat really means. So those kind of things I would like to share perhaps or explore together so that the people don't feel like householders retreat is less worthy than doing a retreat up in a Himalayan cave or something like that.
Interesting, yeah. So the first question that I wanted to ask, well, you've completed all the retreats for the Ganden and the Dakini Ear Whispered lineage, and given all of your experience, what is your most heartfelt advice to students, new and experienced, as they enter into this personal household retreat?
Okay, so retreat is a big subject. I can talk a lot about, even when you ask me about my heartfelt advice. I have a lot of things or the experiences that I can talk about. But devoting my time to focus to spiritual practice in retreat has been one of the most valuable endeavors in my life, I can say. Retreat is a time for us retreating from something, retreating from our ordinary habitual patterns, ordinary worldly concerns, and so-called, and many things. So it's a worthwhile and meaningful time. And also it is a time for our experience and realization to deepen. I often use this metaphor of simmering the tea bag, really immersing ourselves in this spiritual practice. But at the same time, it may be one of the most challenging times since we have to face only ourselves, like regardless if we prefer to or not. Once we are in a retreat, so we have no choice, so to speak. There is no one else to blame. So in retreat, whatever part of us has been hidden or avoided comes up to the surface. And we meet the perhaps painful aspects of ourselves face to face, nakedly. So all are part of doing a retreat. So instead of being sad or upset about that fact, we transform it, everything, into the path. We cultivate gratitude, appreciation, and enthusiasm for an opportunity to be able to spend this devoted practice, even one day, 1 month, or 1 year, wholeheartedly for the sake of happiness of all being. Don't you think it's a worthy thing, especially now, worthy thing to, or way of spending our lives.
Absolutely. You know, in a modern day life, there can be so many troubles and different, you know, things that bring a person down. But I think it's so important to, like you said, have this time to be that tea bag and immerse yourself into yourself, your deeper self, and really sort through things. And I think that you put it really beautifully. Now, having taking all of our troubles and the things we encounter and putting it on the spiritual path. Now, do you have any particular advice for the way we might approach that process?
As you know, each of us has a seed of compassion, a genuine aspiration to free the pain from all beings, including ourselves. Like, of course, when we look at the news or watch the suffering beings in the world, our heart moves, feels so-called compassion. I wish I can help them. So this courageous heart or the potential that we are the one who can make that happen by fully unveiling wakefulness within. So that happens in retreat. When we take time out from our life, even little bit. This is a 1 month householder retreat container, but even maybe 1 week, if not the whole month, 1 week, or even weekend, that's worthwhile to do because of this bodhicitta. And we must put our effort into this practice, retreating by keeping our mind. In our tradition, we talk about the three principal aspects of the path: renunciation, bodhicitta, and emptiness, insight into reality. Or the other tradition, Sakya tradition, talks about the parting from four graspings, those kind of teachings. Retreat is a time for us to cultivate those principal aspects of the journeys.
Okay, wonderful. From what I've heard, the way that I would take advice from what you just said is to adopt compassion throughout this experience.
Yeah, motivation. Yeah, that's very
Right.
important. You asked the specific way to approach to retreat is really prepare our mind why we do what we do. Not only retreat, Dharma practice in general. Why bother? Why we have to clarify the motivation for the reason we engage in retreat in this case. Why do I retreat? What am I retreating from? I was talking about there are lots of things we can retreat from. But what is it? The main thing is this so-called worldly concern, attachment or grasping, too much expectation for something, this trivial, impermanent, changing things. We all of us, you young, but even the older people attached to something. So attached to that's the cause of pain. That's the cause of suffering. When we look at the pain in the world, global situation, everything coming from that attachment to the self, so-called self-cherishing, concerned about only ourselves. I'm right, you're wrong, all those things. So we want to have a set the period, time, really immerse ourselves to see what is it, what's the cause of suffering. Then we kind of retreating as much as possible from the so-called eight worldly concern. And
Now,
what the meaning of retreat, all those kind of things.
yeah. Now, it's really interesting that you talk about retreat in this way because that's not something that I have personally thought about. I thought, retreat is just like I didn't think too deeply about the word retreat, but it is indeed retreating from something. And as householders for this householder retreat, we all have jobs, we have families, and we have many commitments. Retreating from these might be a very foreign concept for some people. And I was wondering if you could tell us what a typical householder retreat day or week might look like, because it might be so unfamiliar for some.
During this time, each retreatant will commit to personal retreat time daily or as often as they can for study, contemplation, and meditation. So all depends on one's circumstances, time. But I think ahead of time, we set the kind of plan, so to speak. As I was saying, clarifying the motivation, maybe as you may see in the detailed schedule, suggested schedule. There are 3, 4 options. Depends on your circumstances, life circumstances. There are many options you can choose from according to your circumstances. So what is a typical householder's retreat? I suggest that you do at least 2 sessions. If you are doing just 1 session right now, maybe 2 sessions, morning and evening. Then during the day, whatever you have an obligation, going to work or have to spend a certain amount of time with certain people. If we are engaging in tantric practice, Idam practice as a so-called closed retreat, that's a bit different. But in general, this householders retreat is intended for the people who can also engage with families and friends and maybe workplaces to a certain extent. So integration. At the same time, one want to set aside for focused sessions.
I see. Yeah, that's a good way of explaining it. Now, you talked a little bit about how we should prepare for the retreat in terms of thinking about our motivation. But I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what we might do leading up to the start of retreat as preparation.
I'm gonna have one session with those people who might be interested in doing this retreat. So I can talk more about the meaning of retreat, which is important. And also form. There are different ways to approach to retreat, as I started talking about the 2 sessions. If you do a short sadhana in the morning, you might like to do the long sadhana in the evening or something like, or alternate, or something like those specific, you can say protocol, a retreat protocol we need to know if we want to really make a retreat meaningful and effective and transformative. Of course, anybody can do retreat, right? Can say, okay, I'm gonna do a retreat from this day to this day. But the retreat in this context, we are following the footstep of those retreatant yogis and yoginis of our lineage, especially in this case. Those retreatant did the same practice, did the same kind of retreat, then come out like a shining star of awakened being. And so we follow, of course, with the modification of this 21st century in the contemporary world. This challenge is very good. I was talking about very challenging. Lots of things come up. And putting oneself in a different situation, like what you call friction or challenging, struggle may occur. So those struggles are stepping stone for us to really grow spiritually and also as a human being. In that sense, suffering is good. Advantage of suffering. Facing oneself, we suffer by watching our own mind. Very humbling and good experience, I think. Otherwise, we just stay in a comfort zone and doing the same old things. That's not transformational. Then just end up, that's whole life about. No, that's not so effective as a spiritual practitioners, I think.
Right. So it sounds to me like one of the ways that it's important to prepare for this retreat is to really understand what the retreat is, what it means, develop the motivation, and that way you can fully prepare for what's to come. That sounds definitely doable for a person to spend a little time to understand what they're getting into. Now, when it comes to our friends and family who might be around us when we're doing this householder retreat, that might look a little strange to them. So how does a person who's doing a householder retreat explain to their friends and family what they're about to do?
What do you think, Joseph? I mean, your mom is a Dharma practitioner, so not a stranger, but if you were doing this retreat, what would you say? Maybe
Well,
you have to explain a little bit about something, or
well, yeah, I guess I'd say I'm doing a spiritual practice where I'm taking some time away from the contemporary world to learn a little bit more about myself and the way I think about things and the way I perceive things, and see if I can come out with, I guess, a more calmer, peaceful, and joyful mind.
yeah, good. The thing is that the spiritual practitioner, especially Dharma practitioners, I would say, and tantric practitioners, then whisper lineage practitioners. We don't tell our practice saying I'm doing a retreat or I'm doing something meaningful. We embody what we realize or what we experience. You know what I mean? For example, I'm not a good practitioner, but I live with my mom, and she doesn't know specifically what I do. But I tell her that's my job,
Oh
my
yeah.
work. So this is my work. So
Yeah.
please, I don't say the please disturb, but she understands. So she honored my time, this time to this period. She respects that is my work period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all depends on, I think, your circumstances as well as your relationship to your family members.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it's very important to have a skillful means. You have to be skillful to express your intention clearly, not the wishy-washy things
Mm-hmm.
clearly, while expressing your love toward them. Because they don't know actually why you're not going to speak to me for this period or something like that. But you can express, you can embody the kindness, you can express love to them. I think they will understand.
Mm.
And, but that's right. We do retreat for the sake of them, happiness
Mm-hmm.
of them. If we really care about them, we want to do retreat. When I was a single mom, and I never thought it's hard to be away from him. I mean, how much I loved him, but I always have an intention. I'm doing this retreat for him, happiness of him,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as all beings. So this is a really opportunities, and I became very enthusiastic about doing retreat again and again.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I guess if we just focus on, again, the reason why we're doing this retreat, we might come up with a way to tell our family and friends about why we're doing it from the heart.
Yeah, from the heart. That's a good
Yeah.
way to say it. Yeah, in Dakini's Whisper, we try to hold a householders retreat once or twice a year. They are important part of carrying the spirit of your whisper lineage of wandering yogis and yoginis
Mm.
retreatant. I hope that our students start to appreciate retreat as an opportunity, not an obligation or
Mm-hmm.
duty, or even sort of torture or being separated from their beloved one. In contrary, I want to them to start appreciating this is a way to the solution to the even world conflict or the happiness of our families, happiness of all beings.
Yeah, I feel that personally. You understand that I just got a new job, and having this
Yeah.
full-time job and trying to balance everything, it gets so noisy. And like I'm really looking forward to this chance for everyone to be able to retreat from the mundane, the regular, and really focus on, what matters.
Yeah, what matters. And also, step by step, we don't go to extreme. In the West, we live in 21st century this time. What we are retreating from, even this intention, if we have that intention, that's worthwhile to have. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like when we look at the people around us, for example, they have no idea about retreating. They may feel that's torturing. So this is an opportunity for us, really.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I want you to taste the chocolate. Yanamayashu used to say, taste
Mm.
the juice of being alone, but not alone. This word just came up to me. It's one of my favorite phrase. Um, I think this is the Christian mystics or saint said, in retreat, I never alone, which means physically alone, right? Isolated, even in a room, not doing a specific or separate cabin or something, but in a walking retreat, you do your own room practice, but you feel connected. When you are completely devoted to the practice, you feel the connection to all beings.
Mm.
I mean, it's kind of paradox, but you feel the connection when you are always surrounded by somebody and distracted by this and that, you don't appreciate this deep connection as a human citizen. All want happiness, or do not want suffering. This kind of fundamental things, and also Buddha nature, each has Buddha nature. All those things can be really experienced and realized in retreat.
Wow.
In day-to-day life, it's very difficult. Only intellectual understand.
So beautiful, the idea of it. Well, in terms of questions I have for this topic, that's all I had. And I was wondering, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, maybe I'm repeating myself. Just one thing, the meaning of retreat. To whatever degree you can do retreat, or whatever form you can do retreat. If you understand the meaning of retreat and try moving one step towards them, which means retreating one step from something, is really worthwhile. And I celebrate that intention itself. And I would love to be a part of your retreat.
That's beautiful. That's what a wonderful way to put it. Sometimes the idea of taking this retreat can be a big, daunting idea. But like you said, even taking the slight step towards retreat is worthwhile, and I would agree. Well,
I think that's something Milarepa said. I not exactly quote, but mind one step away from home, you are already half enlightened or something like that. Yeah, it's such a rare, precious intention.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and answering my questions once again. It's really nice of you to take the time to explain things. Yeah, it gives me a lot of information about the event and how to prepare for it. And I'm sure it's going to help a lot of other people too.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Joseph. And I look forward to doing a retreat together with you.
Yeah, it'll be fun.